Right now at 5, jury deliberations for 2 Aurora paramedics in the final criminal trial in the death of Elijah McClain.
Tonight, McClain's mother shares a strong message addressing the accused. Plus, this Colorado case has ripple effects across the nation concerning liability and medics' judgment calls in emergencies.
The final criminal trial connected to Elijah McClain's death is now in the hands of the jury. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Jason Grenauer.
And I'm Micah Smith. Aurora fire medics Jeremy Cooper and Peter Chikuniak are accused of administering the wrong dose of ketamine to McClain.
Denver 7's Danielle Kreuter is breaking down the key takeaways from this trial for those 2 paramedics.
She joins us live outside the Adams County Courthouse with the latest. Danielle.
Micah and Jason, the jury went into deliberation early this morning, and around 8 hours later, the first full day of deliberations is ending without a verdict. Still a lot of eyes on this courthouse and on this case. It's actually very rare for paramedics to face criminal charges for their actions while they are acting in the capacity as a medical professional. This case, of course, challenging that protection from that liability that medics often face and could have an impact on future cases across the country. The prosecution began building a case against fire medic Jeremy Cooper and Lieutenant fire medic Peter Chikuniak, claiming they failed to even assess Elijah properly before deciding to sedate him and didn't properly care for him after.
They heard him beg for help. Please help me. And they did nothing. They overdosed Elijah with a sedative that he did not need and then left him completely vulnerable. And then they stood back while he died.
That night, the paramedics determined Elijah was showing signs of excited delirium while interacting with police and administered ketamine minutes before he eventually lost his pulse. The defense insistent that the 2 were following the protocol at the time.
They're being told he has done a push-up with 3 of them on him, over 700 pounds of men on him. They're being told he's been completely resistant to pain control. They're being told he went for a gun. They're being told that he's completely nonsensical. They have to give ketamine. That's the treatment.
Prosecutors challenging the medical need for ketamine for Elijah, who had been put in 2 carotid holds by police and was already being held down by several officers. Defense experts would testify that the paramedics were in fact following the protocol for ketamine use in Aurora. The paramedics team also pointing the finger at police and how long they kept Elijah in handcuffs before letting the medics intervene.
It was always said, once they come out of handcuffs, then they're our patient. Until then, APD, it is their scene. It is they're in control.
So I asked if they can kind of position him to get those cuffs off. I was told no.
In closing arguments, Cooper's own attorney acknowledging what he called systemic problems in policing and medicine at the time. The prosecution pushing back, saying the 2 men knew the risks of their actions, but pushed forward anyway, and it cost Elijah his life.
They had a chance here to try to remedy all of the bad decisions that they had made up to that point, all of the risks that they had ignored. And instead, they just strolled down to the ambulance.
This evening, Elijah's mother released a statement about the trial so far. It says in part, "We are supposed to do better if we know how to do better. So there is no excuse for the lack of accountability in their collective action. They cannot blame their job training for their indifference to evil or their participation in an evil action. That is completely on them." Jury deliberation is expected to resume tomorrow. We'll continue to keep a close eye on this case and let you know as soon as a verdict is reached. For now, reporting live in Adams County, I'm Danielle Kreuter, Denver 7.
Numerous implications from this one case. Thank you, Danielle. You can also catch up on all of our coverage at denver7.com/news/Elijah McClain.
Now, in the wake of McClain's death, there has been a lot of discussion and some action on the use of that term that Danielle mentioned, excited delirium. It's a term characterizing people who appear agitated during police encounters. Well, the term also has a history of racially charged usage. According to a Virginia law review looking at 166 in-custody deaths from 2010 to 2020, 56% of the cases involving excited delirium involved Black and Latino victims. Since then, many physician groups have disavowed that term, and now the state of Colorado is taking some action. Earlier this month, a state regulatory board voted unanimously for Colorado law enforcement to no longer recognize it. That goes into effect starting January 1st.